Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Have you ever found yourself being the person everyone turns to? The reliable friend, the dependable coworker, the one who always says yes? Yet when you need support, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're looking for someone to be there for you, there's silence. No one offers the same kindness you've shown. It's not just frustrating, it's exhausting. And if you're not careful, it can be dangerous. We've been conditioned to believe that kindness is a virtue, that the more we give, the better we are. But what happens when that kindness is left unchecked? When it drains us? When it turns us into someone who is always giving, but never receiving? Kindness, when left unchecked, can become your greatest weakness. This isn't just about feeling underappreciated. It's about the psychological, emotional, and even physical toll that unchecked kindness can take on you. And yet, this isn't a call to become cold or unkind. Instead, this is about balance, knowing when to give and when to hold back. That's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, understood the dangers of misplaced kindness. They taught that generosity must be sustainable, that true virtue isn't about self-sacrifice, it's about wisdom. Today, we're going to explore 4 ways that being too kind can ruin your life, and, more importantly, how Stoicism offers a way to fix it. So if you've ever felt drained, used, or taken for granted, this video is for you. Way number 1. Kindness without boundaries leads to burnout. Picture this. You're the person everyone depends on, the fixer, the problem solver. At first, being needed feels good. You take pride in being reliable. But over time, something shifts. The more you give, the more people expect. What was once an occasional favor becomes a responsibility. Eventually, helping isn't a choice, it's an obligation. And then when you're overwhelmed and need support, you look around and realize no one is there. This is the price of kindness without boundaries. It's not just exhausting, it leads to burnout. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius believed self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. Without it, your ability to help others collapses. Think about it. A warrior without armor won't survive battle. A doctor who never sleeps will make fatal mistakes. You can't pour from an empty cup. 2 travelers cross a desert with limited water. The first, selfless and generous, shares freely. But by the harshest stretch, they have nothing left and don't survive. The second balances giving and self-preservation. Because they survive, they can continue helping others. This is Stoic kindness. Not giving until you collapse, but giving in a way that lasts. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Being a good person isn't about constant sacrifice. It's about knowing your limits, setting boundaries, and giving in a way that strengthens everyone. Before you say yes again, ask, am I giving from strength or depletion? If it's the latter, it's time to rethink how you give. Way number 2. Unchecked generosity creates dependency. Sometimes kindness does more harm than good. Not because generosity is wrong, but because unchecked kindness weakens rather than strengthens those we care about. Think of a mother who deeply loves her daughter. She wants to protect her from hardship, so she does everything for her. Choosing her clothes, solving her problems, shielding her from failure. It seems like love. But what happens when the mother is gone? The daughter, who never faced struggle, suddenly finds herself lost. She doesn't know how to navigate life because she was never given the chance to learn. Her mother's kindness, though well-intentioned, crippled her independence. And this isn't just about parenting. It applies to friendships, relationships, and workplaces. The more we step in for others without expecting them to take responsibility, the more they depend on us. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology. Epictetus, true help empowers, it doesn't enable. If your kindness is making someone weaker, then you are not truly helping them. Seneca, generosity should uplift, not diminish the receiver. If someone relies on you instead of themselves, your kindness is robbing them of self-sufficiency. Modern psychology supports this idea. Studies show that excessive help erodes self-sufficiency and creates dependency. When people know someone else will step in, they stop putting in effort. Think of a friend who expects you to fix their problems, a coworker who lets you take the fall, a family member who depends on your financial support but never changes their ways. The reality? When you do too much for someone, you teach them to do less for themselves. When you constantly give, people stop appreciating your effort. Worse, they start expecting more while contributing less. This isn't just about avoiding burnout, it's about teaching others to stand on their own. If you truly care about someone, help them grow. Don't shield them from growth. Support when needed, but never remove their responsibility. Next time someone asks for help, ask yourself, am I empowering them or enabling them? Is my generosity making them stronger or weaker? Am I truly helping or just making myself feel useful? True kindness isn't doing everything for someone. It's teaching them to do it themselves. Joy 3. People will value you less. Kindness has a paradox. The more you give, the less people value it. At first, people appreciate your generosity. They admire your selflessness. But over time, something shifts. What was once a favor becomes an expectation. Your kindness once noticed now goes unseen. And when you stop giving, people don't ask if you're okay. They ask, what's wrong with you? This is a harsh truth, one that Marcus Aurelius understood well. Marcus Aurelius taught that people only value what requires effort to obtain. Think about it. When something is scarce, it's precious. When something is always available, it's taken for granted. If you're always the one who says yes, who drops everything to help, who never asks for anything in return, your kindness becomes invisible. It's no longer generosity, it's simply expected. Imagine an old car, one that starts every morning without fail. No one thinks about the engine, the maintenance, or the years of reliability. It's just assumed that when you turn the key, it will work. But the day the car doesn't start, suddenly people are frustrated. They don't think, wow, this car has served me well for years. Instead, they say, why isn't it working? The same thing happens when you give too much. At first, your kindness is seen as a gift. But over time, it becomes expected, unnoticed, until you stop. Modern psychology supports this idea. Studies on reciprocity show that people place higher value on things they must work for. Help someone occasionally, they appreciate it. Help them constantly, they expect it. Worse, when you stop giving, people don't reflect on how much you've done for them. Instead, they feel entitled to your kindness and resentful when it's gone. If you want your kindness to be respected, you must protect it. Limit your availability. Make people earn your time. Give, but don't overextend. Seneca once wrote, "A gift loses its luster when it is freely given without thought." True generosity isn't about endless giving. It's about giving wisely. Because at the end of the day, if you don't value your own kindness, no one else will. Way 4. It weakens your personal power. Every time you say yes when you really want to say no, You give away a piece of your personal power. It seems small at first, agreeing to an extra task at work, helping a friend even when you're exhausted, saying yes to plans you don't actually want to attend. But over time, these small compromises accumulate, and before you know it, your life is being dictated by the expectations of others instead of your own priorities. Boundaries as a form of self-respect. Seneca warned us about this loss of self-direction with a simple but profound statement: "He who is everywhere is nowhere." If you stretch yourself too thin, always catering to the needs of others, you lose sight of yourself. Your energy is scattered, your time is consumed, and your priorities fade into the background. But here's the key lesson. Boundaries aren't about rejection, they're about self-respect. A Stoic does not let external circumstances dictate their life. They act with purpose, with intention, and that means learning to say no, not out of selfishness, but out of wisdom. Saying no is an affirmation, not a rejection. Most people think of saying no as pushing others away, but in reality, saying no is an affirmation of your own priorities. When you decline an unnecessary obligation, you affirm your time. When you refuse to be manipulated by guilt, you affirm your self-worth. When you stop overcommitting, you affirm your ability to focus on what truly matters. True power lies in the ability to choose where your energy goes. New. Historical example: the fall of overextended empires. History is filled with leaders who knew when to retreat and when to advance, and those who didn't. Take the Roman generals who knew when to withdraw and regroup. They understood that power isn't just about pushing forward. It's about knowing when to hold back so you can strike effectively when the time is right. But contrast that with leaders who overextended their empires, stretching their armies too thin, taking on too many battles at once. They collapsed, not from external threats alone, but from within, because they failed to guard their own strength. This is the same for individuals. If you say yes to every request, you weaken your ability to focus on what truly matters. You become stretched so thin that you lose control over your own life. If you don't guard your time, someone else will. The world will take everything you allow it to. Employers will take your time if you don't set boundaries. Friends and family will rely on you if you never say no. Even strangers will expect things from you if you don't protect your energy. But your time, your energy, your life, it's yours to control. If you don't take control of it, someone else will. Seneca reminds us, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. If you want to reclaim your personal power, start with your time. So the next time you're asked to do something that drains you, ask yourself, is this truly aligned with my priorities? Will this strengthen me or weaken me? Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I'm afraid to say no? Remember, real power lies in choice, and the strongest people are the ones who know when to give and when to walk away. The Stoic solution: controlled generosity. The answer isn't to stop being kind, it's to be kind with wisdom. Kindness is a virtue, but only when it's practiced with self-awareness and balance. Unchecked generosity leads to exhaustion, resentment, and dependency. But when guided by Stoic wisdom, kindness becomes sustainable, empowering, and truly meaningful. The Stoics didn't believe in withdrawing from society or becoming cold-hearted. They believed in giving intentionally, ensuring that generosity doesn't come at the expense of one's own well-being. Here's how to practice controlled generosity, kindness that is both powerful and sustainable. 3. Stoic principles to fix this one. Set limits, give, but not at your own expense. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless it is for some mutual benefit." What does this mean? Help others, but not at the cost of yourself. Before saying yes, ask, do I have the capacity to give without harming myself? Am I enabling someone or empowering them? Is this an act of kindness, or am I afraid of disappointing someone? When you give within limits, your generosity remains strong rather than being drained by overcommitment. Give without expectation. True generosity comes from strength, not obligation. Seneca warned about the dangers of giving with strings attached. If you expect gratitude, loyalty, or favors in return, then you're not truly giving, you're trading. Instead, give because it aligns with your values. Give because you want to, not because you feel obligated. True Stoic generosity is free from expectation, a powerful mindset shift. If you expect nothing in return, you will never feel disappointed. If someone does appreciate your kindness, it's a bonus, not an entitlement. This prevents resentment and keeps your generosity pure. Prioritize inner peace. You are not responsible for everyone else's happiness. Many people fall into the trap of thinking, if I don't help, they'll struggle. If I say no, they'll be upset. If I don't fix this, things will fall apart. But here's the truth, you are not responsible for the emotional well-being of everyone around you. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Let go of the guilt that comes with setting boundaries. Helping others is noble, but not at the cost of your own peace. Carl Jung's perspective, self-awareness in giving. The great psychologist Carl Jung emphasized the importance of self-awareness in relationships. He argued that when we give without reflection, we may actually be feeding our own subconscious need for approval, validation, or control. Do you say yes because you truly want to, or because you fear rejection? Do you give from strength or from guilt? Jung's insight teaches us to examine our motivations, because true generosity comes from abundance, not insecurity. Aristotle's golden mean, true virtue lies in balance, not extremes. Aristotle's philosophy of the golden mean teaches that every virtue must be balanced. Too little generosity, you become selfish. Too much generosity, you become a martyr. The key is moderation. Generosity should uplift, not drain. It should be a choice, not an obligation. It should bring joy, not resentment. Be generous, but be wise. Kindness is not about sacrificing yourself. It's about giving in a way that is meaningful, sustainable, and empowering. The next time you are asked for something, pause and reflect. Am I giving from a place of strength? Will this act of kindness uplift both me and the other person? Is this generosity or is this self-sacrifice? The Stoics didn't teach us to stop giving. They taught us to give better. Kindness isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about knowing when to say no. For too long, we've been taught that being kind means putting others before ourselves at all costs. That saying no is selfish. That real generosity means never holding back. But here's the truth. Uncontrolled kindness is not kindness. It's self-neglect. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, knew this well. He understood that true inner peace doesn't come from pleasing others. It comes from aligning our actions with our values. If you constantly say yes out of fear, guilt, or obligation, you are not being kind. You are being controlled. And that's not what Stoicism is about. Stoicism teaches us to act with wisdom, discipline, and purpose, to be intentional about where we invest our time, energy, and generosity. The key takeaway? Kindness is most powerful when it's given with intention, not start taking back control. If this message resonates with you, don't just listen, act. Reflect on where you're giving too much and where you need to reclaim your time. Start setting boundaries that protect your well-being. Practice controlled generosity. Help in a way that strengthens both you and others. And most importantly, recognize your worth, your time, your energy, your peace. These are not limitless resources. Treat them with the same value you wish others would. Your next step. If you found value in this, subscribe for more Stoic insights on mastering your mind and life. And before you go, watch the next video on the screen, where we dive deeper into Stoic strategies for self-discipline, resilience, and personal power. Let's continue this journey together. Because a life led with wisdom is a life truly lived.